This is Todd Stashwick, and you are watching TrekCulture.
Hello, and welcome, my friends. We have a bit of news for you this week. And before I say anything else, I want to say a very special thanks to our friends at SFX Magazine, which is available today from all good retailers that sell print magazines, I guess. And it contains information about Star Trek Discovery's 5th season. In this magazine, there is discussions with Michelle Paradise, of course, the showrunner of Star Trek Discovery. There is a short interview with Sonequa Martin-Green. But there's also a massive reveal as well that people have been buzzing about. It seems to be just this week that this is going around, because we can reveal via SFX Magazine and, of course, the All Access podcast, which also contains an interview with Michelle Paradise, that Callum Keith Rennie's character, Captain Rayner, who, hands up, I've been reporting as a Romulan for almost a year now, is not in fact a Romulan. He's a Kelleran. They were introduced in the Star Trek Deep Space Nine second season episode, Armageddon Game. The Kelleran and the Tilani had just finished centuries of war, and in an attempt to develop a lasting peace, were basically, Bashir and O'Brien were helping them get rid of their stockpile of harvesters, which is a deadly biogenic weapon. The episode is actually a really, really good one. It's one of the early Bashir and O'Brien buddy episodes. Everyone gets a lot to do in it, even if some don't have as much screen time. I thoroughly recommend a rewatch of Armageddon Game. What an interesting alien race to bring back, because other than the Emmy-nominated hairstyles, what do we really remember about the Kelleran? So there's such a blank canvas of what to do here. To have Rayner specifically, Michelle Paradise speaks about the thought process that went into picking what Rayner was going to be and where he was going to be from, and how it will play into his character. We obviously don't know yet what impact or effect that's going to have. Speaking just wild speculation here, does Rayner have some sort of knowledge of, the harvesters themselves? This type of weaponry? Are the Kelleran and the Tilani still at peace, or have they broken out into war again? And, based on the events of the end of Armageddon Game, how long did it take for the Kelleran and the Federation to become friends? I'll be honest with you, it's not an alien race I think of often. All right, sometimes in the morning when I'm trying to decide what to do with my hair. But other than that, it's not a race I think about very often. So this is a fascinating choice. Also, in the magazine, in the interview, there is obviously a lot of discussion about the show coming to an end. And there's some really moving things that she says in these interviews as well. There's a real sense that, while obviously Paramount cancelled Star Trek Discovery, that they were receptive to the request to give it a finality. There is discussion about, the feelings and the thought process that went in. Well, they had just wrapped season 5 and then had found out that actually, no, you've wrapped the show. And there's some really interesting things that she has to say about how that felt. Particularly in Sonequa Martin-Green's interview, she credits Michelle Paradise and Alex Kurtzman for effectively going to bat for the show to get the ending that we now know was filmed after the fact. Obviously, there is an air of sadness in the interviews, and gratitude. There is discussion of, sort of how late in the day the news came through. Michelle speaks about she had already, very, very early plans, but plans were being laid for the 6th season of Discovery. You never want to hear of a show being brought down in its prime, and you never want to hear of anyone with all these plans for the future who suddenly have them scuppered. So there is a sadness in that part of the interview, don't get me wrong. There is also, and she puts it better than I can, but there is also this fantastic positivity behind it and behind the experiences that she had on and with Star Trek Discovery. And of course, Starfleet Academy is addressed, and can the show go on? Knowing that it wasn't a creative decision to end the show, and that the creatives behind the show then were able to at least turn around and give it the ending that they wanted with the materials and with the resources they were given. And actually, based on what I've read, I feel quite positive about that. The fact it was not a creative decision ties into sort of the larger story, like what's happening with Star Trek. Funny timing. Joseph Adalian, writing for Vulture, this was reported via Trek Movie, actually managed to sit and speak with George Cheeks, who is the president and CEO of CBS and the chief content officer for news and sports at Paramount Plus. And you probably couldn't have a higher person to ask the question to, and he asked, what's going on with Star Trek? Okay, I'm paraphrasing here, but obviously there's plans for Star Trek at Paramount. We've got Starfleet Academy is coming, Section 31, Lower Decks. But as Joseph says, he and many other fans are surprised that there's been no green light for Legacy. Now, obviously, as we all know here, we've been crying out for Star Trek Legacy ever since the end of Picard's third season, and we've got a resounding silence on the matter from the bigwigs at Paramount, at Secret Hideout, and we know from recent interviews that he's given that, showrunner of Picard Season 3, Terry Matalas, has said, nope, there is no work being done on Legacy at the moment. Joseph went so far as to ask Cheeks, is Star Trek still a priority? Now, Cheeks answered in what I believe is a very careful way, and you would kind of expect a lot of what he said in that, yes, Star Trek is still a priority, and, we're very lucky in our partners. He did name drop that. They're very happy with their relationship with Alex Kurtzman, and of course, he is running Star Trek for Paramount at the moment. What I take from this interview is that while he personally may not be directly involved in Star Trek, it does sound like, yes, it is still an important part of Paramount's strategy, which I'm heartened to take from that. Because, as a Trekkie, I'm heartened to take from that. But also, yes, the silence, I'm right there with you, everyone. The silence on Legacy has been a bit surprising, really, if I'm honest. Say no if you're not going to do it, say yes if you are, or say we can't talk about it. In saying that, that's me speaking as a fan. I know bigger decisions go into this, and we're talking a lot of money goes into these things. They can't greenlight anything based on a tweet. I understand that. I really, really do. Our stance would be strike while the iron is hot. You have everyone crying out for Legacy at the moment, or, whatever it ends up being called. You have people crying out for a show like that. Not, do it now. These things don't get made overnight, but listen to your audience and at least tell them we hear you. And also, you would imagine that there will be an audience ready and waiting to go for that show if, based on the outcry like this. And it does, it's fairly united. Of course there'll be people who don't want it, and that's absolutely fine. But it's been fairly united in people crawling out. Crawling? People crawling out for Legacy. That's it. I feel like I'm crawling toward the finish line to get an answer about Legacy. So much so that we have a video that will be dropping very soon. 10 reasons to greenlight Star Trek Legacy now. But the fun thing is as well, if it's Legacy, if it's Starfleet Academy, there was a lot of discussion, to go back slightly, there was a lot of discussion in the SFX interview as well about how the AR wall has helped them do so much more. The AR wall has been around for season 4 of Star Trek Discovery and seasons 1 and 2 of Strange New Worlds. And we've spoken about before, some episodes have looked okay when it comes to it, and some episodes have really benefited from it. I don't want to say too much. Season 5 has benefited from the use of the AR wall as well. We have sort of I won't call it an ongoing joke, but an ongoing discussion about the AR wall on the channel. You see, we often bring it up in things like podcasts and things like that. And when it's not great, it's really noticeable. And when it's great, it's bloody great. So I'm excited to see, as this technology develops as well, how this would feed into future shows and what they might look like. Now, please build a chair, you know what I mean? But you can expand so much on what you have to work with the use of technology like this. Another good friend of our channel, the wonderful Mick Jost over at Cinema Blend, recently got the chance to interview none other than William Shatner himself ahead of the release of the documentary You Can Call Me Bill. This is the first biographical documentary that William Shatner has actually officially done. Obviously, some of the other the documentary things he's done along the way, he talks about his life, but this is a specific biographical documentary about William Shatner's life. As of recording, I believe it will be available within the next couple of days. By all accounts, it is a very moving look at the life and times of William Shatner, who is a controversial man. He has lived. I mean, the man's been to space. This documentary, I feel it'd be very, very interesting to see what events in his life like that how they have affected the man and his perspective on life. Again, we will link we'll put the link for that article in the description of this video as well. Do have a read. There's some very good, very touching quotes from Bill Shatner in that. And there you have it, folks. Do check out the issue of SFX magazine, which is currently on sale. Support print media. I have been Sean for TrekCulture. We will bring you more news as it comes. You are awesome. You are wonderful. Please look after yourself and live long and prosper.